It's always a journey when you go out into the world, or rather, when you just go out simply from your house. It's always a new experience, possibly filled with new entertaining little activities or new people to meet. And, well, sometimes, even if it's just as simple as going to the grocery store, you can definitely interact and see nuances of the world you've never seen before. At least, that's what I thought before I left the country and actually went somewhere bigger, broader, more modern per se. As a girl from the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, I didn't really know what to expect. All I kind of knew was I wanted to go somewhere new, different, somewhere really exciting. And well, when looking at every country of the world, just Japan. I just saw Japan and it really stuck out to me. After years of asking, I finally was given the opportunity to visit Japan, not once, but twice. And while the first time was amazing and great, I was mostly in the Kansai region and only got to see Tokyo for about a week. Yet, throughout that week, I felt like there was something more, something I was just missing. So, when I had the opportunity to study in Tokyo for a study abroad year, I took it. When I went to Tokyo for the second time, I felt like a small ant inside a bigger world. Everything was so unique and vibrant, just like it happened the first time. But this time, I wasn't alone. There were many other people I came across from many different countries. Just to list a few, I met someone from France, Poland, Germany, Taiwan, China. I mean, that's just some of it, but there were so many different people that I met. And that made me curious about Tokyo. Seeing all these different people come here, people from all these different countries, it made me wonder why. Why do all these people come here? What is so appealing about Tokyo that it makes people from all around the world come and venture here? What was it about Tokyo itself that made everyone curious to come? Was it its history? Was it the way it's modern? I mean, were they like me and they just really liked anime? The question sure was present, and that's why I wanted to find out. Why? Why do people visit Tokyo? To figure out an answer, I decided to look back at Tokyo's history. Before Tokyo, the capital area had gone by the name Edo. Though it's unclear of where the name Edo came from, the name was used to define the capital in era of the Tokugawa shogunate's rule. The Edo era lasted from 1603 to 1868, around 260 years. And to give insight on that, the USA is currently 244 years old, currently in the year 2020. So, Edo period has existed longer than our current period in the USA. Today, Edo is often seen as the Old Japan, referring to a time where Japan was much different than it is now. When the Tokugawa shogun and Bakufu lost power in 1868, Japan's emperor regained his title as leader of Japan, though not for very long. There's some more reasons to that, but moving on. To display this transition of power from shogun to emperor, the oligarchies of the newly formed Meiji government at the time wished to move the emperor to where the shogun used to stay. They wanted to move the emperor and his family to Edo. Professor and author Andrew Gordon writes, after the emperor's triumphal progress from Kyoto to Edo in 1868, the early Meiji government struggled to decide where to locate a permanent capital. Not until 1889, when the decision for Tokyo was made permanent. Edo was renamed to Tokyo, meaning Eastern Capital, an opposite word of Kyoto, which means Western Capital. But just so you know, Kyoto is no longer a capital. Once the USA had Japan surrender at the end of World War II, many reforms were made, especially to Tokyo. Japan made an economic recovery throughout the 1950s and experienced a vast economic growth throughout the 60s. The country became the second largest economy from 1968 to 2010, where now it stands as the third. Due to the U.S. occupation, U.S. businesses began to appear in Tokyo and eventually the rest of Japan. Other countries also followed suit. Japan's economic growth caused Japan to grow in urban development and transform to become a city of global modernization, though its idea of modernization isn't entirely new. It's still massively transformed once World War II is over. Yet, even through my research, I still didn't really understand what made Tokyo stand out. Why do people take the time to visit it? Why do people come exactly after World War II? What really makes the city stand out as being a place of global community? Is it our media consumption? We always see movies where Tokyo is featured as a special place, especially for big blockbuster franchises. But what about it? Is it the anime scene? Anime is becoming more mainstream than ever. Or people are just simply going to YouTube to looking up the life within Tokyo. Why is it that Tokyo is so special? Why is it that we consume it? Is it just media consumption? To combat the question of why Tokyo should be considered a global center, I try to think of possible reasons as to why people wish to visit. Well, some of the reasons were before China took over as the biggest economy, Japan was considered the biggest Asian economy at the time. Maybe that was appealing? Prior to when Matthew Perry requested Japan to open, Japan was isolated, so people wanted to visit a formerly isolated country. Maybe their desire to visit somewhere formerly isolated was why they wanted to visit? Is it simply because Yoko Ono's from Tokyo? I mean, that's what my parents would like to visit. Tokyo's also got a robot cafe, and going back to how Tokyo is a part of modernization, that makes sense. And that also fits in line with the gaming and anime culture that has recently become something, well, just quite known around the world. Yet, as I look at these answers, I question, are these really the reasons why people visit Tokyo? Is this why everyone from around the world gathers at this one place? I had to examine myself. Why did I go to Tokyo? What made it so appealing to me? And after giving it some thought, I think I've come up with some reasons. All the reasons I gave before do qualify as to why people want to visit Tokyo and make it such a global center. Tokyo's large economy provides security for those who wish to travel to other regions of the world. In other words, Tokyo may be seen as a safety net because of its heavy Western influence. To give example, when I was there, I was a little surprised to see how many American restaurants and businesses existed within Tokyo. Media consumption also plays a big role for Tokyo and its appeal. Media consumption of Tokyo indeed impacts the desire people have of the city. I say this because 3 of the exchange students within my school admitted they came to Tokyo to view anime culture, and as Gen Z is more aware of anime and other media consumptions of Tokyo, it makes sense as to why people in Gen Z or other ages would like to visit the country, or just Tokyo. Finally, people desire to see cultures different than their own, cultures especially that blend both tradition and modernization. Based on the last point, we can say that Tokyo is a place where past and present meet. Unlike the US, many places in Japan feature locations from an earlier time, such as Meiji Castle, Shirakawa-go, and more. Tokyo, too, features little areas that resemble Edo and the periods from earlier decades. The city often invites visitors to learn more about the capital's cultural heritages and overall history. Whether it's visiting a Shinto shrine or going to the Edo Museum, there's always a place to admire and learn how one location went through such an identity change. So, going off those reasons, should we consider Tokyo the center of modern global gathering for this day and age? And the simple answer is yes. Tokyo's modern appeal through its use of popular culture invites the younger generations while its difference in culture invites the older generations. The city provides an escape from the realities other countries face, which is an appealing factor to some, though it is important to note that Tokyo has its own problems. However, the city also makes you face those realities since you are in a home away from home. Japan's immersive culture invites people from all around the world to gather and understand each other, especially within Tokyo. There are even clubs within Tokyo for this purpose alone. Tokyo is a city that invites everyone around the world to look at how Japan has changed identities throughout the ages. It's a place where even people from rivaling countries can come and just admire and appreciate the qualities Japan has to offer, especially through its capital. Whether Tokyo will remain a global center is questionable. However, by the looks of it and the way it goes now, it seems it will be a place of global gathering for a long time to come. To finish off, I wanted to say thank you so much to Akiko sensei. She's my Japanese teacher, and she has taught me so well. Without her, I would not have been able to go to Tokyo, nor would I have been able to go to Japan twice. So thank you so much, sensei. Domo arigatou gozaimasu.